Hey, it's Shaggy. Welcome back to another edition of the CoffeeCast from the Wailuku Coffee Company, where today we are having the vegan churro donut.
We are. That's exciting.
Yes, no, I know.
I'm a vegan churro. That's very exciting.
Well, it's one of the things that I know about. Today's guest, by the way, does concerts for a cause, right?
Yes, Music for a Cause here at the Wailuku Coffee Company on the third Saturday of every month. Mm-hmm. And so we get together. It's usually me. My name's Kimo Nevius, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say he needs to say his name. It's Kimo.
Hi, I'm Kimo, and we do a concert where it is usually me splitting the bill with another musician, and every month we raise money for a different either local nonprofit or charity, sometimes something national, sometimes something international, but every month it's different music, and every month it's a different cause.
Nice. And now this is the thing too, is because I also know you from the other side of your life as the recording artist.
Yeah.
And
so I'm a singer-songwriter. I write songs about a whole host of things.
I was about to say, because this morning I was talking about you're one of the few guys I know that wrote a historical album about Maui, like an actual songbook of our history.
Right.
Besides being nuts, what inspired that?
I'm a crazy person. So when I moved to Maui about 12 years ago. And one of the very first things I did was to take a couple of non-credit classes at what used to be called VITEC.
Oh.
Whatever that's called now. At the college.
At the college.
And Hawaiian language and culture was one of them. And I took a class with Kali'i Taua, who ultimately became my kumu. He's the person who took my haole name and said, no, you're Kimo now. And I danced hula with his halau for a while. I really became immersed. And he really set me on the course because one of the assignments in the class was to take something we had read in our history book and turn it into a song. Now, this was very funny because every week the number of people in class had dwindled because he was always giving out these incredible but insane assignments, which is why I love the class so much. And this was the insanest assignment yet, to take a bunch of people, none of whom he didn't know if anybody had any experience writing a song in their life. He didn't care. He's like, write a song based on an episode of Maui's history.
Wow.
So we came back the next week and like half the class had been like dwindling by half every week.
Yeah.
And then like really half the class had gone. And I had written a song called Maliko Gulch, which is the cornerstone of this album that came out this year.
Okay.
That told the story about building the water system to bring the water from the wet side of the island to where they wanted to grow the sugar cane.
So it took you over a decade to do your homework.
Correct. That is correct. I'm a big fan of letting ideas gestate.
Yeah. I'm sure educators are big fans of that. Like anytime a student comes to their class, they're just sitting there going, "Where's your homework?" Well, I'll
have it in about 10 years.
I'll have it in 10 years. I'll put it out on an album for you.
I was very happy to read about, this is completely off topic, but someone who is writing a book now. I always get jealous of people who can churn out a book a year kind of thing. But this, while she has written many books in the intervening time, she's been working on this project for 15 years. And I thought, okay, there's hope for me.
Oh, God. I can't lie. It took me 2 years to write my first book.
So just think, you're way ahead of the curve.
Yes, finally. But now this is something that you're kind of ahead of the curve on, is because a lot of musicians always try to find a way of tying in not just their art, but the community, and then actually giving back to the community that they live in. And you seem to found like this perfect trifecta.
This is what's so great about this. I was inspired by, I think a lot of people were very upset in 2016 by the results of the presidential election.
You think?
You maybe. And, a lot of people wanted to do something, but felt powerless because you're just a person, you don't run a big corporation or have a lot of money or do things. And a restaurateur that I admire in New York, a vegan restaurateur named Ravi Darasi, set up a pop-up cafe called Coup.
Coup? He called his cafe Coup.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was a bar, actually, and they had a limited number of cocktails, and each night they would pick a couple of charities, and they accepted no tips, but instead you would get a chit, and you would just be able to put it in which of the two charities, and these were charities working towards especially people who were afraid their funding was going to get cut under the new administration, or otherwise felt like they were really feeling pressure. And at the end of the night, whichever one got the most chits, that's that night's percentage of the proceeds from that night would go to that charity, and it was constantly changing. And I thought that's a great model, not try to like just pick one organization and raise a lot of money for them, but take a bunch of different organizations, all of whom might be struggling a little bit, or could always use, there's no nonprofit that couldn't use a few extra bucks.
Right.
And choose a different one, make it really easy, have different musicians come in so it's not always hearing the same thing, have different charities so that if you do support one and you don't support another, so the audience will change every month. And Pete Seeger used to tell a story about how if you have a seesaw, and at one end of it you've got a bucket full of rocks,
Okay.
and at the other end is empty, and people start coming along putting in a teaspoon of sand, and you think, what good am I doing putting in a teaspoon of sand? But at a certain point, so much sand gets in that bucket.
You
that
shift
that
the weight.
things begin to
Yeah,
change. So I like
okay.
to tell people, you can come to one of these events. There's no cover. The musicians don't get paid. We're all volunteering our time.
Yeah.
And every dollar you put in the tip jar is going to go to that month's charity. And it doesn't matter if it's $1 or $5. I mean, we'd be happy if it was $100, but your dollar is going to, in the aggregate.
Oh, so
help.
this is your tiny
And
bucket.
so this is our tiny, and so we're all doing our teaspoon.
Gotcha.
But over the first year, we're now about a year and a half into this program. Over the first year, we raised thousands of dollars for charity. Just
Wow.
a couple of people on a Saturday afternoon strumming guitars.
Yeah.
And, it works.
Well, this one's 420, so what's your charity?
It is not a 420 charity. It is, our charity this is a repeat. It is Holly Cow Cow, which provides food for the homebound and for the homeless in South Maui, out of St. Teresa's Church.
Yeah.
And so
They're really good guys.
They are really good guys. They are very good at getting every dollar that they can. And so one of the reasons they are this month's charity is that they have arranged with a donor who is going to match the money that we make. Now, it's not going to necessarily be a one-to-one. The details hadn't been ironed out. It's not necessarily going to be a one-to-one match, but safe to say, no matter how much you put in the tip jar, there's going to be 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents on the dollar. Don't know yet, but there's going to be an extra amount that is going to be raised. And so I love to be able to take advantage when there's a, so we've slipped them in as the April beneficiary so that they could get this money before that challenge runs out.
Well, here's the thing, because, there could be a charity that's watching this going, I don't know that Kimo even existed.
Exactly, and now you can call me.
Yeah, shame on you for that, by the way.
Exactly.
He's a very nice guy. Very existable.
The best way, you should go to my website, which is kimosongs.com.
Okay, go to the website.
K-I-M-O. And you should write to me at kimo@kimosongs.com and say, hey, I run a charity.
Okay.
And we'd love, and I'll be honest with you, some months we raise $100.
Yeah.
And the best month ever, we also had a match that month, and we had $500 in the tip jar, which meant we got another $500 given to us. So we raised $1,000 in 2 hours.
Wow.
And so that's our range, 100 to 1,000. I'd love to beat that 1,000. I'd love to get people in here on 420. It's me, and it is the Pacific Blues Society.
Oh.
Featuring one of the greatest vocalists on the island of Maui, Sweet Mama D.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to do a pretty low-key acoustic opening set so that your expectations are then blown away by the 4-piece, 5-piece band in this little space that's going to.
Oh, my God.
And they're going to do straight-out blues, and it's going to be really great. And again, every dollar you put in the tip jar on 420 is going to get matched. So it's a great day to come and hear new music and experience this and support Holly Cow Cow and see what we're all about. On May 18th, I've got Sarah Jelly, who people know through the theater community here. She's going to be performing.
Okay.
June, we are not, we're taking June off. Do a little rest and recharge. We'll be back in July, and in July, it'll be me as the opening act, and then Megan co-owner of this coffee shop.
Oh, Megan will be playing,
As the star, Megan Song, as we call her,
yes.
her stage name. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Whatever the third Saturday in July is, look that up, people at home.
We don't have calendars here.
I do. I have one right here. So whatever the third Saturday. So we always do this. You can just mark your calendar. The third Saturday of the month from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m., there's going to be live music here at the cafe, and it's all going to go to a good cause.
Wow. So, and you're the guy that's behind all of this.
I am, unfortunately. I mean, yes. Yeah, so it was I was sort of struggling to figure out how can I take my talents and lend them to a good cause. I can't give $1,000 a month to a charity.
I know, but
I could help people.
Yeah, as long as we're going to talk about your talents, though.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Okay. No. This is a very serious thing. They are a mini. And I mean, not only do you write songs, but I like reading your articles when you write for The Guardian.
I am a journalist as well.
Yeah, you're a journalist.
Fake news, sorry.
No. Some really good pieces. And one of the things that I like, and I've always wanted to ask you this because Wailuku is a really historical place.
Yes, it is.
Very historical. And your books about the walking tours of New York are fascinating. And some of the things that you pull up, like the little details of places and corners that people wouldn't even know that like something historic happened there, you have like multiple stories about. Have you ever thought about doing that kind of a book or that kind of approach to, say, Wailuku?
I have, and it's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing here. I think that if I were to do it, ultimately it would generate an audience.
Yeah.
But often doing one of those things, it works best when there's already an audience. And so it's about sort of crafting the way to make it happen. But I mean, this place is absolutely chock full of history and architecture. I write a lot about architectural history, and I really think that Wailuku is absolutely fascinating to walk through looking at architecture. And I would want someone, me or someone who has even more architectural specialty than me, to sort of write or lead a walking tour or do something in Wailuku that highlights how interesting the buildings are here.
You know, the funniest thing that I found out about architecture people, because this is the thing.
We're funny people.
Well, no, this is the thing. People that you wouldn't expect would be into this, right? Did you know that O'Shea Jackson, Mr. Ice Cube, writes about architecture and actually studies specific periods of architecture in L.A., actually gave a symposium on them.
That does not. He seems like a brilliant man, and so that doesn't surprise me. But it is people who are into architecture are really.
He is really into it.
Architecture. Yeah.
Well, that's just it too. It's like whenever we're walking around, because I used to hang out over at a different station with him. I kind of noticed that you always do tend to look at structures.
Yes.
And is that something that's always been born into you, or is it just something that just got as a hobby developed?
I had the great fortune of going to high school in Italy.
Oh.
And I had really good teachers, and they taught me how to look. And one of the best things, I lived in Rome, and one of the best things about living in Rome is that it was our classroom. And so rather than reading a book about medieval history, we would go into the basement of a church and see how the Roman building was then replaced by the Byzantine building, which was replaced by the medieval building. And that's the subject we were looking at, and we would see. And then we would look at the Renaissance building that was on top of that. And you could literally stand in the basement of a building and look at the layers, stratigraphy, as we say in the biz. Oh. And that, I was 15 years old. And I got really hooked on the way buildings can tell stories.
Wow. And
so then I moved from Rome straight to New York City, which has a lot of buildings that tell a lot of stories. So that's how I got into it.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get too much of a story here because we'll run out of time. But so tomorrow, 4/20.
April 20th, for those of you who are not, don't know the math so well.
Yeah. January, February, March, April.
There we go, 4/20.
Yeah, 4/20.
From 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, though I have told people that maybe if we can push the encores, we can end the show at 4:20.
Ah.
On 4/20.
There you go.
I'm just saying that maybe
Just
this will
saying.
happen.
Yeah. And it's all for a good cause
And it's all
this
for a
week.
good cause. We raise money for Holly Cowco. It is absolutely, obviously come and buy things at the cafe
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and support. This is a wonderful business that you should be supporting because they support us. It's wonderful that they give us this space to do this, that partner with us, partner with me to do this every month. But there's no cover. So you buy a cup of coffee, you get a vegan churro donut.
Yeah.
You sit down, you enjoy the music. I hope you enjoy the music. And you throw a couple bucks in the tip jar. And the next thing you know, that tip jar's growing, and there are hungry people on this island who are going to get dinner.
Yeah, all for a good cause. So make sure that you join them April 20th.
That's it, 420.
Yeah, at the Wailuku Coffee Company. That's it for today's episode, though. Check us back next week when we'll talk more on our CoffeeCast.
All right.
Till then.
Aloha.